Have you ever wondered why, no matter how much you try to save, you end up spending your whole paycheck? Or maybe it's just the opposite. Maybe holding on to money feels safer than enjoying it. What if your relationship with money is about something more? Welcome to Mind Matters. I'm your host, Dr. Nina Savell Rocklin, here to turn your subconscious into your superpower. And today we're going to talk about moolah, dough, cashola, money. But this is not about budgets or savings accounts. It's about the emotional side of money. It's about identifying your money stories and learning how to master money habits. Let me start with a story. I treated Linda for more than a year before I discovered she had an issue with overspending as well as overeating, which was the issue she'd come to therapy to address. So she mentioned one day that she'd try to stop herself from shopping with the same willpower she usually reserved for cake, and she had failed miserably. She had been shopping for sheets, and she said she had no room in her house for more sheets, but she saw some on sale and she just couldn't resist. She said she had a thing about sheets. Now, I knew that Linda lived alone in a large house that once belonged to her parents. And I'm thinking, what do you mean you have no room for sheets? So I said, what do you mean you have no room for sheets? And it turned out that Linda had over 150 sets of sheets, which took up a lot of space. I mean, that's a lot of sheets. And when we explored her thing, her quote unquote thing about sheets, she explained simple, like she just liked new sheets because they were nice, they were fresh. That's all there was to it. They were pretty. Nothing more to explore, Dr. Nina. That's all there is. Okay. But I explore, right? I go deeper. We go deeper. Linda remembers having sleepovers at her friend's house when she was a kid. And there was always this really pretty, like at Linda's house, there were white sheets from Sears or something, like cheapo sheets. And at her friend's house, there was always like some fresh, clean sheet with a flower, and it was just so pretty and nice. And also the friend's parents were loving. They were affectionate. They were that Hallmark family you see in commercials around the holidays. Linda's parents, on the other hand, they drank themselves into a stupor every night. They got into fights, sometimes physical fights. They screamed. They threw things at each other. For Linda, the sheets, they came to represent the kind of life she wanted, the kind of relationship she craved. She couldn't have a happy family, or she didn't have one at that moment, but she could always have sheets. And the feeling of happiness, that was just one new set of sheets away. So I suggested that buying all those sheets was her way of trying to feel like part of a loving family. And she said, no sheet. Yes, we both laugh, but we also recognize the painful underpinnings of what Linda called her sheet addiction. And once she identified why did she feel compelled to buy all these sheets, she could express what she was truly actually hungry for, what she was truly craving for. And she got in touch with the emptiness that no amount of sheets could fill. Linda had been trying to fill the absence, what she was missing in her life, a partner, a kids, family, by stuffing her body with food and her house with sheets. So she had to mourn the family she didn't have. She had to process the loss of never having had the loving family in the first place. And only then did she stop buying sheets. And yes, she gave away most of those sheets to charity. So yay, Linda. Linda's story shows how much our relationship with money is not just about numbers. It's about emotions, memories. It's about deeply ingrained beliefs that form our money story. So what exactly is a money story? A money story is a set of ideas and attitudes about money that we developed over our lifetime. And again, it's often rooted in our childhood. And these stories, they shape how we see money as adults, and they influence everything from our spending habits to our career choices. So let me explore some common money stories. One that a very popular one is, oh, money is the root of all evil. This is the belief that leads to guilt about accumulating wealth or avoiding financial success out of fear that it will somehow corrupt you. And especially if you were raised in a religious household, that message, whether it's that overt, like people don't generally say, oh, money is the root of all evil, overtly, but they covertly express that if you have money, somehow that's not good. Somehow nice people don't have a lot of money. A second money story is there's never enough. There's never enough money. And this scarcity mindset, that leads to chronic anxiety about finances. Maybe you have a hard time spending money. You have a hard time enjoying financial success. You save it, but you can't spend it, and you're always worried about losing it. A third money story is money will solve all my problems. Now, while it's true, let's face it, money will solve certain problems. It absolutely will. But that money will solve everything, that narrative leads to unrealistic expectation that wealth equals happiness and fulfillment. Melinda Gates, who got divorced from Bill Gates, she talked about this. She got divorced and she was miserable and she's going through a divorce. And people were like, you have all that money. Why are you upset? Well, because she was getting divorced and she was emotionally, going through a tough time. But people just couldn't accept that. What do you mean? You're rich, so why aren't you happy? Fourth money story is, I don't deserve wealth. And this can manifest in self-sabotaging behaviors like overspending, avoiding investing, or even taking jobs that undervalue you, literally and figuratively. You have to work hard for every penny. Like that sense of it has to be hard work, drudgery. Every penny must be like your blood, sweat, and tears for every cent you make, or every penny, or every euro, or every, pound, or whatever it is. Like, oh, it's rough. And that leads to being burned out and the inability to enjoy what you earn and constant stress and anxiety. Another one is rich people are greedy. This belief causes you to avoid wealth-building opportunities or have conflicted feelings about your financial success, as if somehow the higher the amount in your bank account, the less good of a person you are. Rich people are greedy, bad. Another one is, I'm not good with money. This money story leads to avoiding financial planning, budgeting, investing, and it does come true, right? It results in financial instability because you tell yourself a story that then you confirmation bias, right? Then you live by the story. And the last one is money equals love or approval, which leads to overgiving, people pleasing, an unhealthy reliance on money to feel valued. So take a moment and reflect. Which of these stories sound familiar to you? Which can you resonate with? Give it some thought. So now that we've identified some common money stories, let's look at another example of how they play out in real life. Meet Blake. By the way, the names that I talk about these people, they are not their real names. Just have to say that. Covering my butt with my California license. All right. So Blake, he was overqualified for his job at a retail store. Even though he had a master's degree, he earned just over minimum wage, and he was underpaid, undervalued, and he was constantly looking for a better job. He figured once he got that job, he would stop living paycheck to paycheck, and he wouldn't have to depend on his parents to helping him out financially. Came from a wealthy family. So good news. Blake eventually found a better job. Yay! Parade! Amazing! Wonderful! What do you think happened next? Well, in a perfect world, He opened a savings account, contributed to a 401k, and breathed a sigh of relief at his financially comfortable position. Ah. But we don't live in that perfect world. What did Blake do? He bought expensive clothes. He bought expensive groceries. He like Erewhon. Erewhon in Los Angeles, you can get a smoothie for $25, no lie, and that's the cheap one. He went to Erewhon. Oh yeah, it's unbelievable. And he bought a more expensive car. He kept living paycheck to paycheck, and his parents kept helping him make ends meet. In our work together, Blake came to realize he stayed dependent on his parents because money was their currency of love. They just couldn't provide emotional support. This family couldn't talk about anything, but they could give financial support. And on some level, if Blake didn't need their financial help, it was as if he was saying goodbye to their love. So by staying in need of their help, he stayed feeling loved by his parents. So both Linda and Blake, they are both examples of how our money behaviors are tied to deeper emotional needs. In Blake's case, his need for parental love manifested as financial dependence. Okay, so let's talk about another common money behavior. Retail therapy. Retail therapy is the idea that spending money makes you feel good, leading some people to become splurgers and using shopping as a quick fix. They might use retail therapy to manage their emotions, similar to how other people use like comfort food. After all, shopping binges feel a lot like food binges. They really do. They both put you in that kind of numb place. All right, take Ariana. Ariana mostly spent money on clothes. She had a different wardrobe for all her different lives. That's how she put it. She had different lives. So she bought work clothes, weekend clothes, clothes she wore when she hung out with her artsy friends, and clothes she wore around her more conservative family, and clothes she wore when she went out, on the town. Ariana's clothes function like a costume. So they made her a chameleon in all these different situations. Now, why? Why would she do this? Because Ariana did not feel like she was good enough just as herself. So she shopped to distract herself from uncomfortable thoughts and feelings, but also to create an image that she thought would be good enough in the world. And when she learned to feel differently about herself, when she learned to respond differently to herself, when she really recognized that she was perfectly imperfect, there's that theme again. No matter who she was around, no matter how she dressed, when she really trusted that she was likable and lovable as a perfectly imperfect person, she stopped using shopping as a distraction from insecurity and self-doubt, and as a way to create a self that she thought that people would want to connect with, that if she wore the right clothes, somehow people would like her better. So all these stories, they show us that if you're empty, if you're lonely, if you don't feel good enough, no amount of things will fill that void. If you're struggling with conflicts about independence or abundance, shopping only gives a temporary distraction. If you're uncomfortable with yourself, no amount of clothes, makeup, or hair products will make you feel better about yourself. So how can we change our relationship with money? Here are some practical strategies. One is money journaling. Start a money journal. What's a money journal? You track your spending and your emotions around your financial decisions. That means, I bought the Erewhon $25 thing. What did I feel? Oh, I felt like I was cool. Right? You start recognizing what are your patterns and triggers around your spending habits. Another is doing value-based budgeting is what it's called. Sounds fancy, but all it means is that instead of creating a restrictive budget, I can only have this, right? Which is kind of like a diet, right? diet sleeve to binging. Financial budgets can lead to overspending, same way. Try aligning your spending with your core values. So ask yourself, like, does this purchase, does this thing I want to buy align with what's truly important to me? So what if one of your core values is health and well-being? If you're thinking about grabbing takeout, I don't care, it's expensive, or what, I'm going to order from this restaurant or whatever, but you might ask, wait a minute, does spending money on takeout align with my value of prioritizing my health? Or maybe you want to go to the healthy restaurant and it's more expensive, but you say, you know what, it does align with my value of spending money on my health. Right? So if your options align with your So if your food options don't support your health goals, you might spend money on groceries to cook healthier meals at home, right? That's how you align your spending with your core value of well-being. If personal growth is a value, you might spend money on books or online courses or experiences that help you learn instead of things that don't contribute to your growth, like clothes you don't need. So this approach, it ensures that your spending reflects what truly matters to you rather than follow some rigid, restrictive budget that you're going to break anyway, right? And also what's called mindful spending. So the next time you want to buy that thing, like you're scrolling on Instagram, oh, you know how it goes. You're scrolling on Instagram or Facebook or something, TikTok, and you see the thing, you're on Pinterest, you're like, oh my God, I never realized I needed that. I need that thing I never realized I need it now. And you're like, you're about to put your credit card in. By the way, take your credit card out of Facebook to make it or off of all of those apps, so it's less easy to make those purchases, and ask yourself, wait a minute, why am I doing this? What am I really looking for here? Am I distracting myself from something? Is this thing giving me a promise that I need to look at, like a better life, a better me? Do I really need it? Once you identify the underlying need, you can explore healthier ways to meet that need without spending money. Or maybe you realize, no, this is just advertising at its best and I am getting hooked in and I'm going to unhook myself and go away from this app right now. Also, gratitude practice, but very specifically, every day list 3 things you're financially grateful for. Tangible things you actually have, you actually own. This helps shift your mindset from scarcity to abundance. Also, money dates. Schedule regular money dates with yourself or your partner to review your finances in a curious, non-judgmental way. Like, let me look at patterns, kind of a thing. Also, reframe your self-talk. When you think negatively about money, reframe it. Instead of, I'm terrible with money. Try this. I'm learning to manage my money better, right? You're saying the same thing, but saying, oh, I'm terrible with money makes you feel bad. Saying, I'm learning to manage my money better. That's more hopeful and optimistic, and it just feels better. We want you to feel better, right? That's the point. Also, educate yourself. Commit to learning one new thing about personal finance every week. This could be books, podcasts, financial services, something. Just learn, educate yourself so you know something. And also, visualization exercises. Imagine for a minute that you are feeling completely at ease with your finances. You are not worrying about how to pay the bills. You feel good about the amount of money in your bank. You're golden. What would that look like for you? Right? Would that mean checking your bank account or your credit card without feeling that knot of dread in your stomach? Would you feel safe with abundance? Think about, how will it feel when you feel good with the money that you have? Now, when I say this, I want you to pay attention to any resistance that comes up when you picture this. Do you hear an inner voice saying, oh, that's impossible. I could never feel that way. No way. If so, explore that. Where do you think those beliefs came from? consider how your earlier experience with money might influence your current relationship with finances. Did you grow up with a feeling of scarcity or abundance? How did your parents handle money? Remember, our relationship with money is deeply rooted in psychology. It is not just about numbers. It is about our fears, our self-worth, our deepest belief about what we deserve. We inherit our financial attitudes and behaviors from our families, from our cultures, and we learn them. And what we learn, we can unlearn and learn a new way. How do we do that? By recognizing patterns, challenging beliefs, and practicing new behaviors. That's how we rewrite our money stories and create a healthier relationship with finances. It is possible. So thank you so much for joining me today. And before I go, I want to give you a glimpse into our next episode, why we build walls, emotional walls, and how to let people in. That title says it all. Yeah, we're going to look at why we protect ourselves in relationships and how to feel safer. Be sure to follow me on all social media channels, and remember, your mind matters.